The first thing Captain Hyun felt was cold, deep, bone-chilling cold that seemed to reach into his very soul. Then came the pain, a burning sensation that spread through his body as his blood began to flow again. His eyes opened slowly, fighting against a crust of ice that had formed on his eyelashes. The soft blue light of the cryogenic chamber cast strange shadows on the metal ceiling above him. For a moment, he couldn't remember where he was or why he was there. Then it all came rushing back. The invasion, the fall of Seoul, the last desperate plan. The glass cover of his chamber slid open with a hiss. Hyun tried to sit up, but his muscles screamed in protest. He had been asleep for a very long time. "Status report," he croaked, his voice rough from disuse. The chamber's computer responded in a calm female voice. "Cryogenic revival complete. Date, April 15, 12,047. Time in stasis, 10,023 years, 47 days, 14 hours. Hyun blinked. 10,000 years. The number was too big to understand. "Team status," he asked, forcing his stiff body to move. "All team members in stable condition. Revival sequence initiated." Hyun finally managed to sit up. He looked around the dimly lit bunker. 4 other chambers were arranged in a circle. Inside each one, a member of his team, his wolves, was waking up. Tai was the first to emerge after Hyun. The weapons expert sat up quickly, his soldier's instincts still sharp after 10 millennia. "Captain," he said with a nod. "Did it work? Are they gone?" "I don't know yet," Hyun replied. "We need to get everyone up first." Sue, the team's medic, was next. She stumbled out of her chamber, catching herself on its edge. "My head," she groaned. "It feels like I drank too much soju." Jin, their tech specialist, took longer to wake. When he finally opened his eyes, he immediately asked for his equipment. "My tablet. Where's my tablet? I need to check the systems." Last was Wu, their scout. He was the youngest of the team but moved like he had been frozen yesterday. "I had the strangest dreams," he said, stretching his arms. Hyun watched as his team came back to life. They had been the best of the best, the elite wolf squad, named for their fierce fighting and pack loyalty. The last defense of humanity against the creatures they called devourers. "Jin, what's our situation?" Hyun asked as the tech specialist tapped at his tablet. "Power systems at 68%. Air filtration working. Water recycling operational." Jin paused, looking troubled. "But there's something strange, Captain. The emergency wake protocol was triggered, but not by the time setting we programmed. Something outside triggered it." The team exchanged looks. They had been set to sleep for 200 years, enough time for the devourers to either leave Earth or lower their guard. Not 10,000. "What about outside?" Hyun asked. "Any readings?" Jin tapped more commands into his tablet. "Atmosphere is breathable. Radiation levels normal. But there's something else." His eyes widened. "Captain, I'm picking up signals. Transmissions. A lot of them." "Human?" Sue asked hopefully. Jin shook his head slowly. "I don't think so. The patterns are wrong." Hyun walked to the weapons locker and pressed his palm against the scanner. The door slid open, revealing their arsenal, untouched for 10 millennia, but preserved by the bunker's systems. "Gear up," he ordered. "Tai, distribute weapons. Sue, medical check on everyone. Jin, get as much information as you can from those signals. Wu, prepare the door systems." As his team moved with practiced efficiency, Hyun picked up his rifle. It felt heavy in his hands, a weight of both metal and responsibility. "What's the plan, Captain?" asked Tai as he handed out combat suits. Hyun checked his weapon, the familiar motion calming his mind. "We complete our mission. We were put to sleep to wake up and fight back. That's what we're going to do." The 5 soldiers dressed in silence after that, each lost in thoughts of what might await them outside, what Earth had become after 10,000 years, what had happened to their families, their country, their world. Door systems ready, Wu reported finally. Hyun looked at his team, his wolves. After sleeping for 10 millennia, they were awake, and they were hungry for answers. Open it, he ordered. The heavy metal door of the bunker slid open with a groan. Fresh air rushed in, carrying unfamiliar scents. Captain Hyun raised his hand, signaling his team to wait. Wu stepped forward with a small drone in his palm. Send it out, Hyun ordered. Let's see what we're dealing with. Wu nodded and released the drone. It hummed to life and flew out the doorway. Jin watched the feed on his tablet, his eyes growing wider with each passing second. Captain, you need to see this, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The team gathered around the small screen. What they saw made them freeze. The bunker entrance had been built into the side of a mountain outside Seoul. There should have been a view of the city in the distance. Instead, they saw massive structures that seemed to grow from the earth itself. Tall spires that twisted toward the sky like giant fingers. Strange light pulsed through them in rhythmic patterns. Those aren't human buildings, Ta said, stating what they all knew. Sue pointed to the sky on the screen. Look. Where there should have been one moon, there were now 3. One was familiar, Earth's natural satellite. The other 2 were smaller, with a greenish tint. Artificial moons, Jin explained, or captured asteroids. Hyun took a deep breath. We need to see for ourselves. Full stealth mode. Wu, take point. They emerged from the bunker cautiously. The world outside was both familiar and alien. Trees still grew, but they had strange, spiral patterns in their bark. The air felt thicker somehow, and the sky, even in daylight, showed stars that formed unfamiliar constellations. The stars are different, Sue said, looking up. 10,000 years, Jin replied. Stars move. The whole galaxy moves. They made their way down the mountain path, moving silently through the changed forest. Every member of the team felt the same thing. They were strangers on their own planet. After an hour of careful movement, they reached a vantage point overlooking what had once been Seoul. The city was gone. In its place stood a vast settlement divided into clear sections. The outer rings consisted of simple structures, almost primitive. The inner areas became progressively more advanced, culminating in that central tower they had seen. A massive structure that pulsed with energy. Wu used his binoculars to scan the outer ring. There are people down there, he reported. Humans. The others took turns looking. Humans moved through the streets of the outer ring, dressed in simple clothes. They worked in fields and carried water. Above them, strange flying creatures patrolled, part machine, part animal. They look like slaves, Ta said, his hand tightening on his weapon. Jin used his tablet to zoom in on different sections. The inner rings have different beings. Not human. Must be the devourers. Hyun studied the scene carefully. We need more information. We can't just charge in. As they watched, they saw a group of tall, thin figures emerge from one of the middle ring buildings. The beings walked on 2 legs but had 4 arms. Their skin reflected light like metal. When they approached a group of humans, the people immediately knelt, heads bowed. They've won, Sue whispered. The devourers control Earth. Hyun shook his head. Not for long. Remember our mission. If we're awake, it means it's time to fight back. A loud screech from above made them look up. One of the flying patrols was circling nearby. The creature had the body of a large bird, but with mechanical wings and a head that seemed more like a camera than anything living. Down, Hyun ordered. The team pressed themselves against the ground, activating their camouflage suits. The patrol circled twice more before moving on. They've changed everything. Wu said once it was safe to speak. How do we fight against all this? Hyun pulled out a small metal object from his pocket, a wolf's head pendant that was the symbol of their squad. The same way wolves have always hunted stronger prey. We learn their weaknesses. We work as a pack. We strike when they least expect it. He looked at each member of his team. We were frozen for 10,000 years, but we're still the wolves. And we're still hungry. Ta nodded, a grim smile forming on his face. Where do we start, Captain? Hyun pointed to the outer ring of the settlement. We find our people. And we remind them how to be wolves instead of sheep. Night fell over the changed earth. Under the light of 3 moons, Captain Hyun led his team toward the outer ring of the settlement. Their stealth suits bent light around them, making them nearly invisible in the darkness. Remember, Hyun whispered, we observe only. No contact unless absolutely necessary. They moved like shadows between the simple mud and wood houses. The homes were arranged in neat rows, with small gardens behind each one. Despite the alien world above them, these dwellings looked strangely primitive. Wu pointed to a larger building at the center of the area. That looks important. Maybe a meeting place. Hyun nodded. Let's check it out. As they approached, they heard voices inside. Jin set up a small device against the wall that would help them listen and translate if needed. The harvest quota has increased again, a tired male voice said. We won't be able to meet it, not with the tools they give us. We have to try, a female voice replied. You know what happened to Section 12 when they failed? The wolves exchanged glances. Sue mouthed the words Section 12. In question. Maybe we should just run, a younger voice suggested. Head to the mountains. And then what? The female voice grew sharper. The Sky Watchers would find us before we got 10 kilometers. And even if we did escape, we have nowhere to go. This is our home. Some home, the young voice muttered. Suddenly, a commotion erupted from another part of the settlement. The sound of the alien patrol screeching filled the air. Someone tried to escape again. The male voice sighed. Hyun signaled his team to move back into the shadows. Moments later, 4 of the tall, 4-armed aliens marched down the path, dragging the human between them. The person, a young man, was bleeding from his face. The alien stopped in the center of the settlement and activated some kind of device. A loud noise made all the humans come out of their homes. The wolves remained hidden, watching. One alien stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice was oddly musical but cold. This one tried to access the knowledge towers. It said in perfect Korean, "He will serve as an example." The alien raised one of its 4 arms, revealing a metal rod. But before it could strike, something unexpected happened. A young woman pushed through the crowd. "Stop," she shouted. "He's my brother. He's simple. He doesn't understand the rules." The alien turned its silvery face toward her. "You speak for this one. You take responsibility." "I do," she said, standing straight despite being half the alien's height. The alien seemed to consider this. "Very well. He will not be punished, but you will serve an extra shift in the processing plant." The woman nodded. "I accept." The aliens released the young man, who rushed to his sister's side. Then they departed, flying machines following above them. "Who was that?" Ta whispered. "Someone with courage," Hyun replied, impressed. They watched as the crowd dispersed. The young woman and her brother entered one of the smaller houses near the edge of the settlement. "I want to talk to her," Hyun decided. "Captain, is that wise?" Jin asked. Our mission is to find allies and fight back." Hyun cut him off. "She stood up to them. She might help us." The team moved silently to the small house. Through a window, they could see the woman treating her brother's wounds. She moved with care, but also efficiency, like someone used to dealing with injuries. Hyun made a decision. He nodded to his team, then deactivated his stealth suit and knocked on the door. The woman opened it, then froze in shock. Her eyes widened as she took in Hyun's uniform, his equipment, his appearance, so different from the people of this time. What are you?" she whispered. Hyun looked her in the eyes. "My name is Captain Hyun. My team and I have been asleep for a very long time. We're here to help." She stared at him for a long moment, then glanced behind her to make sure her brother couldn't hear. "I'm Mina," she said finally. "And if you're really here to help, you're about 10,000 years too late. Get inside, quickly," Mina whispered, pulling Captain Hyun through the doorway. The rest of the wolf team followed, their stealth suits deactivating one by one as they entered the small house. Mina's brother stared at them with wide eyes. "Who are they?" he asked. "Friends, da," Mina said gently. "Stay quiet now." The house was simple but clean. A few handmade items decorated the walls, woven baskets and carved wooden figures of animals. In one corner, hidden under a loose floorboard that Mina quickly revealed, was a collection of old books and papers. "You can read?" Sue asked, surprised. Mina nodded. "It's forbidden, but some of us keep the skill alive in secret. The masters don't want us to know our past." "The masters?" Todd questioned. "The ones you call devourers," Mina explained. "They've been ruling Earth for thousands of years. They tell us they saved us from ourselves, that humans were destroying the planet." Hyun shared a look with his team. "That's not how we remember it." Mina studied them carefully. "Those uniforms, there are stories, you know. Tales the old ones whisper, about warriors who would sleep in the ice and return when we needed them most." She touched the wolf emblem on Hyun's shoulder. "The frozen wolves." "You've heard of us?" Jin asked. "As legends, yes. No one believes you're real." She looked at each of them. "Until now." Moo kept watch by the window. "Captain, patrol coming." Everyone fell silent as one of the flying machines passed overhead. Its searchlights swept the area briefly before moving on. "Tell us about these masters," Hyun said once it was safe. "What are their weaknesses?" Mina hesitated, then pulled out a crude map from her hidden collection. "They live in the inner rings. The central tower is their command center. They control everything from there." "What about their physical weaknesses?" Sue asked. "Anything that hurts them?" Mina's eyes widened. "You're planning to fight them? That's impossible." "Nothing is impossible," Hyun replied. "We just need information." Mina looked at her brother, who had fallen asleep in the corner, then back at the wolves. "There is one thing. The masters have trouble with certain minerals in our soil. It's why they make us handle the crops and mining. Their bodies can't process the elements." Jin pulled out his tablet. "Which minerals?" "We call it red earth. It's found in the deep mines to the east," Mina explained. "When the masters touch it, their skin burns." Jin typed quickly. "Iron oxide compounds, maybe. Captain, if we could analyze this substance." "I can take you to someone who works in the mines," Mina offered. "But not tonight. Too dangerous." Hyun nodded. "Tomorrow then. For now, we need a safe place to set up base." "There are caves in the hills," Mina said. "Some of us use them to meet and talk freely. The master's sensors don't work well there." Ta, who had been examining the settlement's layout from the window, turned to Hyun. "Captain, if their central command is in that tower, and we can develop a weapon using this mineral, we could strike at their heart," Hyun finished. "But first, we need allies." Mina shook her head. "Most people are too afraid. They've never known freedom. The masters have controlled us for so long, we barely remember being anything else." "But you do," Sue said. "You remember enough to keep books, to learn reading." "A small group of us," Mina admitted. "We call ourselves the Keepers. We preserve what we can of the old knowledge." Hyun placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then you'll be our bridge to this time. Help us understand this world, and we'll help you change it." For the first time, hope flickered in Mina's eyes. "How will 5 soldiers fight the masters when they control the whole planet?" Jin smiled as he pulled up schematics on his tablet. "We're not just any soldiers. We have technology the Devourers have never seen. They've ruled for 10,000 years without challenge. They've grown comfortable, complacent. Hyun's face hardened with determination. And that will be their downfall. Tomorrow, we visit the mines. Then we start building our pack. Outside, the 3 moons cast long shadows across the settlement. In the distance, the central tower pulsed with light, unaware that its time was coming to an end. The research station's main lab hummed with strange energy. Hyun-ki Kim stood next to Sung-ho, watching carefully as the ancient soldier examined modern technology. The room felt tense, filled with an electric sense of something big about to happen. Sung-ho's hands moved quickly over the computer screens. His fingers, enhanced with microscopic neural connectors, seemed to dance across the interfaces. Where normal humans would need to click and type, he simply thought, and the computers responded. It was like watching magic, but it was pure technology. "This is interesting," Sung-ho said quietly. His voice was calm, but there was a sharp edge to it, an edge that spoke of years of military training and survival. Hyun-ki watched in amazement. The soldiers' augmented systems were doing something impossible. Modern computers were trying to block his access, but Sung-ho's neural implants were breaking through every single firewall. It was like watching a master key open every single lock in a building. "Our systems are outdated," Hyun-ki mumbled. Sung-ho turned and looked at him. His eyes were different, not just the color, but something deeper. They had seen things, terrible things, things that most humans could never understand. "Outdated is a kind word," Sung-ho replied. "These systems are like children's toys compared to what we had." He pulled up holographic displays that seemed to float in the air. Each display showed complex military data, old battle plans, and technological schematics that made no sense to Hyun-ki. But to Sung-ho, they were as clear as reading the simple street map. The other soldiers were doing the same thing in different parts of the research station. Tae-hyun, a tall soldier with a scar running down his left cheek, was rebuilding a communication system. His hands moved fast, pulling apart current technology and rebuilding it into something more powerful. It was like watching a doctor perform surgery, but with computers and communication devices. Jae-won Park walked into the lab, holding a cup of coffee. He stopped, his mouth open in shock. The soldiers were transforming everything around them. A simple research computer was now a powerful tracking device. An old communication array was becoming a complex military-grade communication system. "How are you doing this?" Jae-won asked. Sung-ho didn't look up. "We were designed to adapt. Survival was our first and only mission." The transformation continued. Within hours, what was once a peaceful research station started to look like a high-tech military base. The soldiers moved with purpose, each of them knowing exactly what to do. They didn't need to talk much. A simple look, a quick hand signal was enough. Hyun-ki realized something important. These weren't just soldiers. They were living weapons. Every part of their body, every piece of technology they touched, became a tool for survival. They were rewriting the rules of what was possible. As the day went on, more and more of the station's technology changed. Old systems were gone. New, more powerful systems took their place. And at the center of it all was Sung-ho, watching, planning, preparing. The wolves were getting ready to hunt again. The first signal came at midnight. Eun-ji Choi was working late in the research station's communication center. Her eyes were heavy with sleep, but something made her look up. The old communication systems, the ones that should have been dead for thousands of years, suddenly flickered to life. Beep, beep, beep. The sound was soft at first, then it grew louder. Strange symbols danced across the screens. They weren't human symbols. They weren't anything Eun-ji had ever seen before. Sung-ho was there in seconds. His body moved like a quick shadow, silent and fast. "Stop touching anything," he said to Eun-ji. She froze. Something in his voice told her this was serious, more serious than anything she had ever experienced. The symbols continued to move. They looked like they were alive, changing, shifting, speaking a language that no one in the room could understand. but Sung Ho could read them. His eyes moved quickly, taking in every single detail. "The Void Collective," he whispered. The words felt heavy, like a weight dropping in the quiet room. Tai-hyun entered the room. He carried a special device, something the soldiers had rebuilt from old parts. It looked like a mix between a computer and a weapon. "We're tracking the signal," he said. Yeon-ji watched in shock. The communication center was changing. Old machines that looked like museum pieces were now alive. Lights blinked. Screens showed moving maps. The entire room felt different. It felt like a predator was waking up. "How is this possible?" Yeon-ji asked. Her voice was small. Sung Ho didn't look at her. His eyes were fixed on the screens. They never really went away. They were just waiting. More signals started to appear. Some were weak. Some were strong. But they all came from the same place. Deep space. Places where human ships had never gone. Places that were dark and cold. Jae-won Park entered the room. He looked tired but worried. "What's happening?" he asked. Tai-hyun spoke first. "The enemy is moving. After 10,000 years, they're coming back." The screen showed something else now. Large shapes, moving in the darkness of space. They weren't natural. They weren't random. They were organized, planned, like a massive army waking up from a long sleep. Sung Ho touched one of the screens. The image changed. Now they could see more details. Huge ships, thousands of them, moving slowly but with purpose. They looked like metal monsters, eating the darkness of space. "They found us," Sung Ho said simply. Yeon-ji felt cold. "Who found us?" "The Void Collective," Tai-hyun answered. "The ones we fought 10,000 years ago. The ones we thought we had destroyed." The room went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. The frozen soldiers weren't just old history. They were here for a reason. They were humanity's last hope. Outside the research station's windows, space looked the same. Dark, silent, empty. But something was coming. Something old. Something hungry. And it was getting closer. The research station changed overnight. What was once a quiet place of science became something else. Something harder. Something sharper. The soldiers moved fast, turning everything around them into a weapon. Sung Ho stood in the main hall, looking at the maps and screens. His team worked around him. They were changing everything they could touch. A laser cutter became a weapon. A medical scanner became a tracking device. A communication satellite became a long-range attack system. Jae-won watched in shock. "This isn't research anymore," he said to Hyun-ki. Hyun-ki nodded. "This is war preparation." The soldiers worked without stopping. They didn't need breaks. They didn't need sleep. Their bodies were machines as much as they were human. Tai-hyun took apart a large research telescope. Within an hour, he rebuilt it into something that could track enemy ships across millions of miles of space. "We don't have much time," Sung Ho said to his team. His voice was calm, but everyone could hear the danger in it. Yeon-ji brought them information about the Void Collective. Old records, battle reports, survival logs. The soldiers read everything quickly. Their eyes moved faster than normal human eyes. They understood things in seconds that would take others days to learn. "They are coming from 3 different directions," Tai-hyun reported. He pointed at a large holographic map. Blue dots showed where the enemy ships were moving. Sung Ho looked at the map. His fingers moved across it. Red lines appeared, possible attack paths. Weak points, strong points. It was like watching a master painter create a picture. But this picture was a plan to save humanity. The research equipment changed fast. Computers became war computers. Medical machines became repair stations for weapons and soldiers. The entire station was becoming a war machine. "We are the last defense," Sung Ho told the research team. "If we fail, humanity dies." Nobody argued. Nobody asked questions. They all understood what was at stake. Outside, space looked quiet. But the soldiers knew better. The enemy was coming. Millions of ships, thousands of years of hatred. A war that had started long ago and never really ended. Hyun-Ki watched as the soldiers prepared special weapons. They looked like normal tools. But in the soldiers' hands, they became something else. Something deadly. How can simple research equipment become weapons? Hyun-Ki asked Sung-ho. Sung-ho didn't smile. But his eyes showed something close to a smile. Everything can be a weapon, he said, if you know how to look at it. The preparation continued. Hours passed. The research station stopped looking like a place of science. Now it looked like a war machine. Ready to fight. Ready to survive. Sung-ho looked at his team. They were ready. They had been ready for 10,000 years. The wolves were about to hunt again. The first enemy ships appeared like dark shadows against the stars. Jae-won watched from the main screen. His hands were shaking. Thousands of massive ships filled the space. They looked like giant metal insects. Each one was bigger than entire human cities. They moved together, like one big body with many parts. They're here, Sung-ho said quietly. The modern human military was already in panic. Their newest ships looked like toys compared to these monster vessels. Defense stations were calling for help. People were scared. Everyone knew this was going to be bad. But Sung-ho and his team looked different. They were calm. Ready. We've seen worse, Ta-hyun said. His voice was flat, like someone talking about a simple daily task. The communication systems came alive. Panic messages from military bases, warnings, calls for help. But Sung-ho's team didn't listen to them. They were focused. Eun-ji worked on the tracking systems. Her fingers moved fast over the screens. She was helping the soldiers see everything. Every enemy movement. Every possible attack path. First wave incoming, she called out. The Void Collective ships moved closer. They looked like they could eat entire planets. Each ship was a weapon. Each ship was alive in some strange way. They weren't just machines. They were something else. Sung-ho pressed a button. The research station changed. It was no longer a station. It was now a giant weapon. Target the lead ships, he told Ta-hyun. Ta-hyun nodded. He didn't need more instructions. The weapons they had created from research equipment came to life. Laser cutters became powerful cannons. Communication satellites became attack platforms. The first battle began. The Void Collective didn't expect this. They thought humans were weak. They thought 10,000 years of sleep had made humans soft. They were wrong. Sung-ho's team attacked fast. Their weapons were different. They used science in ways nobody had ever seen before. A medical scanner became a weapon that could destroy enemy ship systems. A research drone became a missile that could find hidden weak spots. The enemy ships started to fall. One by one, the massive Void Collective vessels exploded. They looked like giant metal balloons being popped. Each explosion was bright. Each explosion was powerful. Jae-won watched in shock. These frozen soldiers were doing what entire human armies could not do. They were winning. How are they doing this? He asked Hyun-Ki. Hyun-Ki just shook his head. They were waiting for this moment, he said. For 10,000 years. More enemy ships came. But it didn't matter. Sung-ho and his team were ready. They had planned for this. They had trained for this. This was what they were made to do. The battle continued. Space became a battlefield of light and explosions. The Void Collective ships kept coming. But they kept dying too. And at the center of it all was Sung-ho. Watching. Waiting. Hunting. The wolves were hunting again. The final battle was not what anyone expected. Sung-ho stood at the main control center. His team was spread out across the modified research station. They were no longer just soldiers. They were something more, something ancient, something hungry. The remaining Void Collective ships tried to fight back, but they were dying. Slowly, painfully. Ta-hyun tracked the last enemy ships. His fingers moved across screens that looked like they were alive. "We're breaking their formation," he said. EMG watched the battle maps. The enemy was losing, but they didn't know how to stop fighting. It was like they were machines that only knew one thing: destroy. J1 couldn't believe what he was seeing. The human military had tried to help, but their newest ships looked like children's toys compared to what Sung Ho's team could do. They turned science into weapon. They turned research into attack. "This is for 10,000 years of waiting," Sung Ho said quietly. The last group of Void Collective ships tried one final attack. They gathered together, formed a massive weapon, tried to create one big explosion that could destroy everything. But Sung Ho was ready. He pressed one button. Just one button. The research station became something else. It was no longer a place of science. It was a weapon. A living weapon. Massive energy beams shot out. They were not normal weapons. They were something else. Something that used science in ways nobody had ever seen before. Each beam could destroy entire enemy ships. Each beam was created from research equipment that was never meant to be a weapon. The Void Collective ships started to die. One by one. Then faster. Then all at once. Explosions filled space. Bright lights. Massive destruction. But controlled. Planned. Like a master painter creating a terrible picture. Hyun-ki watched in shock. "They're destroying everything," he said. Yeon-ji nodded. "This is what they were made to do." The last enemy ship exploded. Then another. Then the final one. Silence came to space. Sung Ho looked at his team. They had done what they were made to do. Protect humanity. Fight the enemy. Survive. "It's over," he said. But nobody knew if it was really over. The Void Collective had been waiting for 10,000 years. Who knew if they would come back again? The research station drifted in space. Broken. Changed. No longer a place of science. Now a weapon that had saved humanity. Jae-won looked at Sung Ho. "What happens now?" he asked. Sung Ho didn't smile, but his eyes showed something close to a smile. "We wait," he said. "We always wait." Outside, space was quiet. The stars looked the same, but everything had changed. The wolves had hunted again, and they were still hungry.